I don't know, we just used to hang out a lot, and Simon was promoting lots of club nights and band nights in Liverpool, and I used to go, and we formed some form of bond, and yeah. Well, you weren't going to take us on, and then one of his flatmates was listening to one of our songs and singing along from a demo that we'd probably tried to sell at a gig, but ended up just giving away.
Yeah. No, that had Moving to New York on it. I always knew that was an amazing song from hearing it for the first time, obviously, and I would never really thought about getting into band management, but then I kind of, just thought that was such a great song, and my flatmate kept singing all the words back on that track, so I went to a few more shows, and then, we'd kind of already sort of been getting a good relationship going, and
were you both still at Lipper at this point then? So
I was in my second year, and then...
So you were working together.
I guess towards the end of my second year, I decided that everyone was going off to do their placements in their third year at Lipper, and I applied for record labels and blah blah blah. But I asked if I could set up a management company and do my placement as that.
Yeah.
And yes, they approved, and then basically I stayed on in Liverpool, and they all went away for the summer, so it kind of gave me a bit of time to kind of work out what I wanted to do, and. Yeah, and then September, I'd say my third year, I started my placement doing my management company and started on the Wombats.
Great. And before we leave Lipper in terms of the story, can we just have this little sidebar about McCartney, Murph? So I don't know if you know, well, actually you probably do know, because you may even be from Lipper, some people here, but every student at Lipper is guaranteed some one-to-one time with Sir Paul McCartney, aren't they?
Yeah.
Which is obviously a big deal. And is it true, Murph, that during your one-to-one, in the midst of his very highly publicised divorce, you played him a song about falling in love with a whore?
Yes.
Excellent. How did he take it?
He said, I can imagine that would get quite messy. He had lots of security guards outside, and he was on the phone to his lawyer a lot within the kind of hour and a half that I was with him. So, maybe in hindsight, that wasn't a good idea. But it's a good story. You might have helped him out. You might have inspired him in some way to move on. You never know. So Lipper, and then I think it's fair to say that the band gigged very hard. Got a live reputation very quickly. There's something that I read about the fact that you did a 50-date tour with only a couple of days off, and it was something that you went into that you knew was going to be insane. Were you involved at this point, Si?
Yeah.
So you booked that tour then?
I did.
Right. Okay.
It was 48 dates in 52 days,
Which is pretty full on.
Well, we had to cancel a week because I got tonsillitis, Todd got flu, and Dan had tendonitis in his arms. So.
Right. Yeah, Matt, our booking agent's never done a tour like that again.
Right, and I'm sure for good reason.
We were verging on breaking the band off the first tour.
And then it was during that tour, am I right in saying, or actually it was prior to that tour that you signed to Kids. So Kids, is that right? Which was the single deal?
No, we'd put out... a year before that, we'd put out our first little single on Kids.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That was kind of just towards... it was towards my end of my third year at Lipper, and Kids got in touch. There'd been quite a lot of interest around moving to New York, and people had heard the demo, and it got around kind of industry and blah, blah, blah. And then, Kids got in touch through that, and they proposed putting out a little 7-inch.
Yeah.
We put out Lost in the Post as a 7-inch, and all the in-house Warner's team were kind of involved with Kids as well at the time, so we started the relationship with Warner's in a kind of roundabout way.
Yeah.
And then, we got some XFM support on that single.
Yeah.
We'd sent the demo to Hugh Stevens, Rob the Bank, got some early play from them.
Yeah.
And then we ended up putting 2 more singles out on Kids before we did that tour. That was our kind of first proper headline tour, I'd say.
I see.
But before that, we'd done supports with the Holloways and Baby Shambles.
And by this point, there was a fair head of steam in the industry, wasn't there, about who you were going to sign to? Because I know there was lots of people.
We did 3 singles on Kids.
You. Yeah.
3 set up 7-inches, and by the third one, we were getting daytime playlists at XFM and
Zayn and Rob.
New Music We Trust, or whatever, the upfront playlist at the time on Radio 1, and Zayn was heavily playing it, and you could tell as well that the gigs as well, even the regional shows of 300 capacities, we were doing 150, 200 tickets up and down the country, so you could tell something was happening. And then, it was at that point, South by Southwest was where we kind of decided on who we were going to sign with.
Yeah.
And then we moved on to the first single on the label, and we did that 50-day tour.
That's right. So in that case, then, in terms of just kind of going back to the relationship that artist and manager has, that's quite a big deal. Signing your first major record deal, isn't it? Or you're obviously signing any record deal. So is that a collaborative thing? Is that a thing where you just go, do you know what? I trust Si. He's the manager. We got on with it. Or were you and the band like, actually, we need to meet everybody, we need to know that we're really comfortable with this? How kind of collaborative and democratic is that big decision that you made?
Well, there wasn't much of a decision to make because we already had we'd signed our publishing before we signed a record deal. Yeah. So we already had a pre-existing relationship with Christian Tattersfield and Alex Gilbert. And
who are the guys who now run Warner Music in the UK, but were certainly involved with the band early on, I suppose.
Yeah.
And all the Kids lot were involved at Warner's as well.
Yeah.
But Kids was a separate, obviously, indie thing they'd set up. But the press person was involved at Warner's, and he was doing the Kids stuff. Dave was the A&R guy at Warner's, but he was also doing the Kids stuff. So we kind of formed a bit of a relationship with them anyway. And we always knew, I think, deep down, if they were actually... Because Christian at the start was like, well, we don't want to offer on the records. We just want to do the publishing. Well, then when it all heated up, he was like, I want to do the records.
Yeah.
So we always knew if they kind of came in, it would probably be a pretty easy decision. But then we did meet everyone else together. We went out with all the other people.
I think we always knew that we were going to sign to that particular label, and we just kind of used everyone else to take us out for expensive meals.
And why not?
Yeah.
And actually, I guess from your point of view, that's maybe an unusual experience for bands, isn't it? Spending a lot of time with a team that eventually become your team, in the sense that, it just so happened that you did your kind of early steps in the industry with the people that ended up being a big part of your careers later on. So it was kind of nice, I suppose, that you had that experience. And, through that, I know that, Si would have been making sure that the best deals were done and all the rest of it. And how much detail did you go into with the band on that kind of stuff?
I think kind of the basics, I think the basic terms, as in how many albums it's going to be for, what's the advance situation, how much tour support have we got. Yeah. We were actually one of the last, I think, to do one of the old conventional deals where it wasn't 360 and didn't take everything from us. But so we kind of, just the basic things. And then obviously once we'd agreed in principle that we were going to sign to Warner's, then the lawyer would then step in and take up, go over the whole deal with the band and sit over and go over every point and really get into the ins and outs of it.
Yeah, great. And I guess, from a lot of bands' point of view, that kind of process is quite mystifying as well, isn't it? And it's like, when you look at record contracts, I mean, I'm sure, a lot of people have seen them. They're like proper phone books, aren't they? Yeah. And they are quite intimidating things. And I think, it's a really obvious piece of advice is have a great lawyer. And not just a lawyer wwho understands the business of music, but a lawyer that can translate that business into a way that doesn't completely wreck your head. And actually, that's quite rare in some cases, actually, isn't it? Because a lot of lawyers, again, try and mystify what it is they do. But who is your lawyer, by the way?
John Statham.
John Statham at Statham Gill Davis.
Right, yeah. So he's obviously really good. Okay, moving on. So get signed with the chairman of Warner's involved, which is always a good thing.
He wasn't at the time.
He wasn't at the time, but he is now, so that's always a good thing. And then, again, I think we can safely say that things happen really quickly, don't they? So, singles are starting to chart.
Yeah, it was all quite natural shows. Sort of. The first single got little bits of specialist play here and there, and then the second single, that was when Zayn picked it up and he started supporting heavily, and we got daytime playlists on XFM, and the gigs in itself as well were just getting stronger and stronger, and you could see regionally something was happening. We were selling tickets. And we did the right supports as well, and it all kind of just worked. And then by the time we put the first single out on Warner's, we were in a position where we were getting playlisted already at Radio 1 and XFM. Yeah. We were selling a certain amount of tickets, so it was kind of like there for Warner's, really. They can't really fuck that up, to be honest.
Basically, you gave them an open goal, didn't you? Obviously, which is good. So in terms of like the decisions that had been made at that time, I mean, I know that, what the next single is and who we're going to tour with and that kind of thing. I mean, obviously, as things get more successful, those decisions become more important and there's more people wanting to get involved. How do you kind of manage that as this team of four, which I guess you are, Si and the three band members? Is that something where you go, actually, we really think this needs to be the single? Do you go into bat on it? Or actually, was it quite harmonious with the label anyway?
It was pretty harmonious. We kind of, we'd always planned to have Kill the Director as the first kind of single anyway, because we'd already recorded that pre-recording the album.
Yeah.
But then as soon as we had like sort of 3 or 4 demos, the album was pretty much there when we'd signed, but then just before we signed, we had 2 or 3 demos. It was Let's Dance to Joy Division, Here Comes the Anxiety, and a couple of others.
Yeah.
And Christian straight away was like, Let's Dance to Joy Division's got to be the first song that we release.
Yeah.
So then, as soon as we kind of released Kill the Director and did that big 48-day tour, then we went straight into the studio and started recording. And it was always the plan to put Let's Dance to Joy Division out first, and then go to Moving to New York second. And we were all involved in it, and it was pretty harmonious decision. It wasn't.
Yeah.
And I think I think it's best to just leave that in their kind of more than capable hands. So they've got that they're much more objective than people who are actually inside the band or whatever. And me and Tord thought Let's Dance to Joy Division was shite. So,
okay.
So
what do artists know? It's that thing, isn't it?
So obviously it worked out well for us.
Do you know the other really good reason for letting the label choose the singles is that if for any reason it goes wrong, you can blame them.
Yeah.
And say, well, you got the single order wrong.
Yeah.
And that's it, simple as that.
Yeah.
And then you can just walk off in a huff, quite kind of satisfied that you wrote some fucking great songs, but they got the single order wrong.
Which we did on the second album.
Yeah, and they did get it wrong.
Right, okay, well, we'll get there. We'll get there in a minute. In terms of touring, because I guess you've had such a varied experience now touring, and I love the fact that, which might have been in the intro that I couldn't quite see, but this isn't just a band that have done well in the UK, they're a band that have done very well internationally. So Wombats do incredibly well in Australia. I know there are other markets where you do really well. I did have a theory for a minute that the reason they were doing really well in Australia was because people thought they were Australian, and I might have told you this, I did meet an Australian radio programmer once that was including the Wombats as part of the indigenous music percentage. Because what happens in Australia is, which is quite a healthy kind of thing to do for the country, is that all radio stations in Australia, both commercial and the public sector, have got to play, I think it's 30% Australian music. And I did meet a music person who works for a radio station that will remain known as Australia, that was ticking the Wombats as Australia. I'm not suggesting that that's the reason why they did really well in Australia, but anyway. But yeah, they did really well. So they're an arena band down there, as they are in lots of other parts of the world. So in terms of like how you tour and where you tour, what are your favourite things and what are your least favourite things? Places and venues and all the rest of it.
Well, I guess on the second album we spent what felt like the majority of our time in the US, trying to have a go at that, and that's a totally different ball game to UK, Europe, Australia, wherever else. So I don't know. I do love being in America. Not so much the middle of it, but especially the coasts and things. And I don't know. Where do we like playing? Sydney.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sydney and London.
Who wouldn't? And on the American thing, I guess you're at that stage where, well, like all bands are really, I suppose, you never really get out of this stage in America, I don't think, of kind of trying to court radio, trying to court the media, and you're out doing sessions at breakfast time with presenters that you might not even like. I know it's a crazy idea, you might not like some radio presenters, but I'm sure there's some of them you don't. How's that? Is that a bit of a pain in the arse? When they're like, hey, we got the crazy Wombats in, and there isn't that relationship, there isn't that depth there that you might have with a John Kennedy or a Zayn or whoever. And it's just like, right, okay, and you're tired and you got to get on with it. A weird experience, I assume.
Yeah. What did we do? Good Morning Dallas.
Good Morning
Were
Dallas.
you there for that?
No, I wasn't there for that one.
God, that was just an absolute shocker. But yeah, like hanging out with the weatherman, like kind of a few minutes before we're about to go on, and trying to explain to him where Liverpool was on a map and stuff like that, and then go on, and then we played the song, and then afterwards we had to like roll out for the credits, so we just had to keep playing, and we were like, well, what the hell are we going to play? And they were like, oh, just play. And so it just got really weird and jazzy, and we were all kind of slightly hungover, jet-lagged. It was a really rank experience, but I don't know, yeah, we do have to do a lot of acoustic sessions and things that we necessarily don't have to do in other territories or whatever, but we get on with it and we have a good laugh, and yeah.
Really?
Well, no, I spend most of my time complaining about them, but I realise that they're a necessity.
Well, it is that thing about America, isn't it? Is that it's quite a hungry market in the sense that it takes a lot out of you when you go there, doesn't it? And you know, people refer to it as a bit of a leveler for British bands as well. You know, in the sense that you can be selling out arenas in the UK, you can have a platinum album, but you've still got to go and shake the hand of the guy who runs the local record shop's best friend's daughter and be nice to the weatherman on a morning show. You know what I mean? Like, you've still got to do all that stuff if you want to take America seriously, because I'm sure your label out there are telling you that so-and-sos and the so-and-sos have done it, so you've got to do it as well, which is obviously quite hard work. And I guess I'm probably right in saying, without assuming too much, that kind of tests your resolve, and you really must want it then at that point. Do you know what I mean? You must really want to have a proper go at America in order to kind of do that every single day. But you did pretty well. You know, some of those singles were doing really well in alternative radio charts, and gigs were getting bigger and bigger.
It feels like we finally got somewhere on this record.
Yeah, good.
We had like a top 10 alternative record with Jump Into the Fog, and we had like 54 of the modern rock stations, like 58 stations. We had all 54 on board, and yeah, it does feel like we're finally at a stage and we're doing probably like 14 territories around America. We'll do like 1,000 to 2,000 cars.
That's really good, isn't it?
So it feels like we're finally nearly breaking even and not relying on tour support, which is good.
I think the scariest thing for us as a band is kind of how radio works and how that certain people have the monopoly on the radio, like K-Rock and stuff like that. It seems like if you get playlisted or added into medium rotation at K-Rock, everything falls into place. And just how much everything is tested. I know, like, you test.
We do testing as well, but probably not to the same level as them, I think.
It just seems so hardcore out there. It's like they literally throw it against the wall, and if it sticks, then great, and if it doesn't, then bugger off. Yeah,
and it's that pressure on certain stations out there as well, isn't it? So K-Rock is the indicator for that particular format, isn't it? If they go on something nice and early, then everyone else across America that's in the same format as them kind of takes it more seriously, I suppose. So I guess that's a bit of a pressure in it. It's like, you know, so what can you do? Well, actually, you can't do much.
Well, I guess that's the fast route, isn't it? And the long route is to just constantly tour.
So what do you do to enjoy yourself easy now when you're on tour? How does the pressure of all that nonsense then relieve itself? What do you do to chill out, the four of you? And actually, Si, can we just clarify, are you travelling with the boys most of the time as well?
I do in America, but not really anywhere else.
He does 2 weeks with us and he's broken.
Right, you break him and send him home in a mess.
Yeah.
America, I've kind of made the deal of going out there for most of the tours that we've done on this album, just to make sure there's someone there, and, you know, doing all these radio sessions and doing the press that you've got to do. But everywhere else, it's kind of, you know, it's up and running now. I go to Australia, obviously, quite a lot because we're doing kind of bigger shows.
Of course, it's
out
nice
there.
In Australia, so of course you go to Australia.
Yeah, it's lovely places to go. And then Europe's kind of it kind of takes care of itself. So, and you've got a tour manager that kind of deals with all that.
Yeah, of course.
More useful me being in London.
Yeah. So actually, here's an interesting question: are you the dad or the mate when you're on tour? So you know the way some managers are a little bit authoritarian, and it's like, oh, by the way, you shouldn't be doing that. You should be doing this. Get to bed. Or are you the mate that goes, actually, let's have a big one tonight, and then ruins the next 3 days?
Our tour manager's a total bitch, so she's the one that does that. We'll leave her to do that and carry Murph home.
Yeah. So you have got a dad, although it's the female tour manager who's in the band. Good. That's what you need. You know, there needs to be some, doesn't there? Discipline.
Definitely.
Cool. All right. Well, we shall move to questions in a minute. I guess another couple of points just on kind of second album and also where we're going next. There was obviously quite a lot of kind of pressure on that second album. So how are you guys talking a lot creatively? So, for example, Simon, are you chatting to Murph about the songwriting process? And when you first heard Tokyo, are you the supportive kind of sounding board? When he's writing these they were some of his most personal songs on the second album. How's that relationship creatively?
Murph will go off on one now.
Or Murph can answer the question.
No, it's Simon's great actually. When I'm having a bad period or whatever, then I can call him and just offload as much bullshit as I possibly can into his life, and he'll happily take some of it. And then in terms of, I guess we're just kind of left to our own devices, and we're never gonna go off and do some weird MGMT second album.
Right. Yeah.
I think we really like, you know, pop songs with slightly weird lyrics. So that's always going to be kind of what I want to do anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're in any danger of kind of breaking out any kind of massive drop B riffs or anything.
Yeah.
I think we learned a lot from the second album experience anyway, in terms of maybe to like calm down on the touring and keep, you know, prioritise the writing a lot more in certain periods, and maybe keep our A&R guy a bit at length.
Right, okay, right. Keep your A&R at length. Fair enough.
Yeah, it was a bit of the second album was a bit of a mess really, but we got there in the end.
Yeah, well, it was a great album, and obviously
thanks.
did you very, very well all over the world. As a fan of the band, Si, which I'm assuming you are you really excited to hear the new songs? So, like, are you saying, what's going on, Murph? What can it, not in a kind of pressurised way, like where's the fucking single, like the A&R might be, but
no,
but
he does say
does he?
Well, yeah,
okay. But just in a kind of, can I hear what's next, what's happening? I mean, is that part of it?
We speak like every day about
of course.
how he's doing, and he writes a lot in London now because he lives in London, so we're constantly in contact about what new songs he's got. He's got some really exciting new ones that, we already probably got a good quarter of the album, I would say, already for the next album done. And oh god, there we go. There's the
quarter.
Oh,
so you reckon we've got?
Define a quarter.
Hang on. So you reckon we've got 3 songs, 2.5 songs?
This is where we find out that Merce played
Depends
10 songs that he thinks are all amazing.
Look what you started.
John Lennon over here.
Well,
moving on.
You've kind of brought us to the natural point, just before we go to questions of what's next. You know, album in progress, obviously. So writing, recording. Were you in LA doing some recording recently? Was that what was happening?
I was writing last week.
Yeah. And then, I guess, anything this year, or is it even too early to say?
Possibly. I mean, the label are itching to put this one track out. Christian's kind of a bit, as you know, he's like, as soon as he hears something he likes, he just wants to put it out. There's no strategy behind it. It's like, let's go to radio. So, I don't know, possibly a single around the summer if Christian had his way, but we don't really do that.
I think it
prefer learning from the last album. I think
for any bands or I mean, on our second album, in the creative process, there was kind of stuff at radio when we hadn't finished the album, and it really kind of threw a massive spanner in the works. So I just like everyone to go, right, there's 11 songs, let's go and record it, and then, you know, rather than start throwing stuff out and stressing everyone out and freaking out the whole process.
Yeah. I hope we have the album done by the end of the year.
I think they want us in September, but I'm going to say more November.
Hot off the press.
Right,
there is progress from the front on the Wombats record. And then as soon as that's ready to go, then it will be, as usual, I'm sure, out doing dates, and we might even see that before the end of the year.
I think we've already, we've pretty much just confirmed our first one, which will be Falls over New Year, headline Falls in Australia. So
fantastic.
Nice New Year.
Excellent, that's good. And I'd imagine you obviously go to that one as well, because that's nice.
I think I've got it.
Yeah, okay. Excellent. So, any questions for the next kind of, we've got another 10-15 minutes, I think. Any questions for Murph or Simon about Wombat specifically, or about the process of management? Hello.
What have been the main struggles you faced with Chris and John? Like, how do you overcome them?
Struggles.
In the creative process.
I don't know. Just in regarding career.
Like when you were starting out?
Well, yeah. I mean, before we had a record deal or had a kind of, you know, fans or whatever, there was always that struggle of how are we going to get a record deal. Let's send loads of demos off to loads of random labels, just in the hope that we're going to get somewhere. And then the actual, well, what I always think about is why did we waste our time doing that? Because I mean, labels need to see that a band already has a marketplace and already has a fan base anyway. So it was just a waste of postage, really. And yeah.
Although it wasn't a total waste, because it would have created some kicking of arses in A&R departments that didn't sign you when you broke.
Yeah, maybe.
Somebody at some point would have gone, there's fucking Wombats. And then you go, oh yeah, I've got this tape here that I didn't know anything about. But yeah, I know what you mean. I think it's that thing about, I think labels look for momentum more than ever, don't they, really, before they sign artists.
We hear stories of major labels employing people just to bin all that stuff. So, yeah.
It's pretty scary.
It's, no, I think it's quite positive
more and more
that
so
it doesn't matter. You just have to, you just go for it yourself.
You build your own audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next question. Hello.
It seems like you two are very good friends. How do you balance the artist and manager relationship with friendship?
Good question.
Excellent question.
Don't you get fed up with each other?
Sorry?
Don't you get fed up with each other?
Oh, we hate each other, yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the time. No. I don't know. It's kind of just works, really. We're not really...
Yeah, we didn't think about it, to be honest. I guess we're quite lucky.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Well, I used to go out with Simon's cousin as well. So, I mean, I'd go round there on Christmas.
That was too much.
That was a bit too much.
And then when you mess my cousin around, I wanted to stab you. But
yeah. No, I didn't mess her around.
No, I'm joking.
You know. And then, so we have quite a very close relationship. Anyway, without thinking about it. But do we just talk about work all the time? I don't even know.
We do talk about work a lot.
Yeah.
I don't. It's kind of just works. I don't know.
Is work like talking
we're
about?
We're quite
work.
open with each other and honest with each other. We're not. Yeah.
Is that talking about the Wombats, or is that talking about the music industry in general, or talking about music?
Everything.
Or is it everything?
Yeah. And then I guess we've got a friendship outside of the music. And yeah.
Yeah. And you'll have some more cousins that he's not met yet, and all the rest of it.
There's my sister, which he hasn't met yet.
Next question.
You use like loads of social media with Twitter and Facebook. Do you think that's made a really big impact on your success?
Social networking.
Because you interact with like brands on Facebook and Twitter and everything.
I do that.
Yeah, Dan and Todd and Simon probably more so than I, but yes, it is very...
We had your little Twitter moment when you did
I did have my little Twitter moment, but then I had to forget about Twitter because it's just started ruining my life. So I realised that I was on like some presenter from Loose Women's kind of mother's dog, and I was like checking out how many followers she had and why haven't we got as many, and all this stuff. And so I was like, well, I can't be bothered with that anymore. But it is really great, and it's nice to... But I think you have to get that balance right between having a close relationship with your fans, but still maintaining some form of,
mystery.
Well, not mystery, that sounds really pretentious, doesn't it? But, what's the word?
Well, but it is a good question, isn't it, about like how much do you give of yourself as an artist to the fans, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mystique. Yeah, I think we can say mystique.
Yeah.
And it not sound too wanky.
Okay.
I think when we first kind of started, we came around in that MySpace kind of, when Arctic Monkeys broke through MySpace and Kate Nash and all that was kind of at that time. And we were very active on MySpace at the time, and we did build quite a big following on MySpace, and that was a great platform. And then obviously now Facebook and Twitter, and the majority of Facebook is majority done by myself and my assistant, just trying to make out it's the band. But
well, not all the time.
Badly.
Not all the time.
Oh yeah, you put a picture up once every 2 months. Yeah.
Well, they definitely know it's not the band because we don't cavalierly use exclamation marks with every post that we use. But, yeah.
Another insight. And actually, I think that is the truth for a lot of artists. Actually, I think, to be honest, I mean, it's like I don't think we're breaking any major kind of hearts here by saying that a lot of artists that you'll know and you follow aren't necessarily. Some of them are, and if some of them are in the room, then absolutely fair play to you. But I do know a lot that don't do their own kind of social networking.
But at the same time, we got a Facebook, message the other day, and it was like some fans from the Czech Republic, and they have no money and they want to go to like Rock am Ring in a few months or whatever. So they just threw a cheeky question out, and we were like, well, yeah. So we'll put them on the guest list. So we are still involved in it.
Yeah, it's not as though it's not real. It's just
I think Twitter's definitely a lot more personal. Like Dan and Todd are quite active on that.
Yeah,
that's a bit more personal, I guess, and try and keep that separate from the Facebook.
Yeah. But it is without doubt, it's one of the most useful tools anyone in any form of kind of entertainment or whatever can have now. So, next question.
Maybe.
That time you headlined the tent in Leeds, you told me it was the best gig you ever played, but you might have had one since then.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I guess we're very fortunate to struggle for an answer with that. But definitely Glastonbury in 2011. It took us so long, and it was quite a difficult process to get that second album out. And we were on kind of like in the afternoon on the other stage, and I remember like my thought process before, it was like, shit, are we 3 years too late now? Have we dogged this? And we walked on stage, and it was like rammed, and everyone went mental. And I guess that was kind of, that was the most kind of rewarding show for a while. But then we played Coachella the other week, and we were on really early in a tent in the middle of the desert in the baking heat, and we were like, the band before us, there was like 200 people there, and we were like, oh my God, have we come all this way to just have an absolute stinker? But then we got rammed straight away, and so that was good.
Yep. Brisbane was pretty special.
Yeah, we've done lots of great ones, and we've done a fair few stinkers as well.
Liverpool Arena must have been fairly memorable.
Yeah, Liverpool Arena was awesome.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Because we were worried about putting that. Well, SGM didn't even want to put that show on.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're doing it. And then it was good to actually pull it off.
Yeah,
it was
a
quite
nice
rewarding.
big statement.
Yeah.
Playing the European MTV Awards in Liverpool and scaring the shit out of everybody. That must have been quite fun. I don't know if you remember, but they did a cover of Bleeding Love. And it was a unique interpretation. But it looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was very nerve-wracking, actually. Very
not enjoy that.
No, she was not into that.
Sorry for bringing it up.
No.
Next question.
Do you think it's better for a new band trying to get signed to have a manager there from the very beginning?
I'm going to say yeah.
Good question. I don't know if it's totally necessary at the beginning. It's just more important to just write, play. Don't think about anything else apart from the music that you're outputting. And then at some point, people are going to start kind of joining in like a Jenga game. And I guess, well, I don't know. I mean, do managers really have the foresight to see, from the very start of someone's career when they can barely play a chord to what's going to be like in 3 years?
No, I think you're right in some respects, but then I think if you want to start a plot and get things going, then I think it's good to have someone.
Yeah. So the answer is yes. Forward. The answer is yes, probably. But you've got to make sure it's the right person, not like a chancer.
And I think these guys are really fortunate as well in the way that one of their friends just happened to be quite switched on when it came to the music business, which is sometimes the case, but not always the case. So you do see management switch as artists develop and things change in terms of, management because they maybe outgrow and all the rest of it. But I think this is a really unique situation. And, I'm not saying it's a one-off. It does, it has happened before. But, yeah, it has to be the right person, obviously. Next question. Got time for another couple, I think. Anyone? Anybody? There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Who has the final say between if there's a disagreement over where you're going to tour or whether to release this track or that track, who has the final say? Because there must be points where the two of you butt up.
Good question.
Essentially us, because, well, I don't know. I mean, there was lots. We did when we were touring in Australia. You have to fly everywhere, and there's kind of red eyes from Perth to Sydney, etc. So if there's 5 gigs in 5 days, I know full well that with all the kind of recycled air, I'm gonna lose my voice and kind of have to cancel 2 shows. So if I was to see a schedule like that now, I'd have to say, no, this can't work. But it's very rare that we ever disagree on anything. And if we do, then we have a big, massive brawl.
Good question, then. Is there a question over here, was there? Someone over there, just put their hand up? Yes, hello, sir.
Simon, have you got any other bands that you manage, or is it just the Wombats?
No, I've got a few other bands that we manage. got a band called Bipolar Sunshine. They played here last night at the garage with Luna Joe.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've got them. Really excited about him. And a girl called Florrie that I do with Xenomania. And then, yeah, a couple of other bits that are kind of in development stage and hopefully going to come like end of this year.
Lulz are good, aren't they?
Lulz
Used
are
to
really
work
good,
with
yeah.
them.
They split up last week.
Oh, nice.
Joking. Shit, there's an exclusive. Lulz got. They're a fucking great band.
I know. It's a shame. Lost their enthusiasm.
Oh, what a shame.
Project, yeah.
Can I ask a question actually about Simon having a roster? Does that feel like the other woman, Murph?
No, not really. I mean,
Because you know you're better in bed, essentially.
pretty much. But well, no, I don't know. No, it's not. It's none of my. It's none of my.
Metaphorically speaking.
Yeah. No, it's his. It's his vibe, isn't it? Whatever. I'm fine with it. I mean, if you start like, you know, if he signs the next Radiohead and Metallica, then things are probably might get a little bit weird, but it's all right.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Then he can just take me to McDonald's instead of me taking him.
Just going to say, yeah, but then he can pay for more stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Cool. Probably got time for another one. Any more questions? Anyone else? Anyone? Yes, hello.
What would you say were the first steps to taking into getting into management and managing a band?
Well, what were my first steps?
Yeah, what did you do first?
Well, I went and studied at Lipper, which I don't know if anyone lectures it here, but yeah, it was pretty shit. But no, it was good getting the basics of business. But I think if with anything in the music industry, I think I don't know, especially for like A&R and I think management, you've just got to be out there doing it, and whether it's an internship or making tea in the or just posting CDs or whatever, or checking through his demos or whatever. I think you just got to be in there and kind of you learn so much as you kind of go on. And I think as soon as I left Lipper and really got stuck into management, that's kind of when I really learned as we went on.
Cool. I think that's it. Has anyone got any more? I've got one more here.
Oh no! Oh my God! Dad, don't do it.
An observation that I actually saw Good Morning Dallas, and they were very good.
Oh, right, okay.
Excellent. It's like your dad.
Yes.
Brilliant. Thanks, Dad. Brilliant.
Oh shit, Dave's there. No, it wasn't shit. Lipper.
What's that?
Lipper was great.
I know, he's only just walked in, he missed it.
Okay.
Brilliant. All right. Any more for any more? I think we're just about out of time anyway. Thank you very much indeed for coming, and thanks to Murph, thanks to Simon.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.